Welcome back on this Friday night. U.S. President Donald Trump, of course, sent that letter to the Prime Minister informing him the U.S. intends to impose a 35% tariff on exports from this country. Joining us to discuss the latest trade move is Ron Marcolin, New Brunswick and PEI VP of Canadian Manufacturers, and we've reached him in Quispam-Sis. So, Ron, here we go again. How seriously do we take this latest tariff dispatch from the White House?
Well, hello, Todd, and thank you for having me. I think it's fair to say we do have to take it seriously. Now, we all appreciate we've been through this for now a number of months. Of course, there was President Trump and his blister before he literally got into office. And then since then, mostly since early March, we've had a series of statements. We've had a series of threats. We've had a whole bunch of tariffs come down and then change. Quite frankly, within 24 to 48 hours after he makes a proclamation or he makes an executive order. So I think it's very fair to say that, yes, some of those initial tariffs are still amongst us, they're still affecting maritime business, as you know all too well. So we do have to really be serious on our response. On the other hand, we do have to realize as to who we're playing this game with. And unfortunately, it is a bit of a game. It's a very serious and high stakes game. Yeah. But we know that he can change his mind and is prone to change his mind. It's part of his strategy to confuse the audience. And of course, we being the audience are all but confused.
It seems at times everyone around him is confused. Let's break down some of these numbers because there's a lot out there, Ron. 25% general tariff since March. The expectation that copper will be 50%, steel and aluminum, of course, 35% for this August 1st deadline, if you want to call it that, for everything else. How does that shake down? Is this everything other than copper, steel, and aluminum? We know that oil and gas, energy is another section. And then, of course, NAFTA or USMCA plays into this as well.
Yes, that's right. So, I mean, this is, again, back to the conversation earlier about it being confusing. We have to dissect by industry. We have to dissect now by product. So let's just maybe work from the most recent statement yesterday specific to copper and then work backwards somewhat. So copper is now, as of August 1st, going to be brought in as a 50% tariff. Now, the unique thing about copper is Americans need Canadian copper. They need Canadian copper concentrate so that then they can ultimately refine it and smelt it. So we are great miners of copper. We only have one smelter, though, in the country.
In Quebec.
The point is, it is a raw material that the Americans need, but we're not number one in the world. We're roughly number 9, and they're roughly number 6. So the point is, they're using us for our raw material. And, with a tariff like this, it's going to ultimately decimate the customer in the United States, which is our argument all along. Whether it's a finished product, whether it's made of metal, whether it's an auto, obviously made of various components, thousands of components, some of which are metal, obviously, and or other products, it's going to ultimately affect the American consumer. All the other pieces of this puzzle, you mentioned steel, you mentioned aluminum in particular. We're big producers of both of those metals. And we mine it, obviously, the iron ore and the aluminum and the bauxite. Those are in a little bit of different categories because the Americans need those products a lot more than they need, say, the coppers of this world. The auto industry, however, is very unique because it's so intertwined. And the Mexicans play a big part of that as well. So, unfortunately, it is sort of a case-by-case, product-by-product, or mineral-by-mineral sort of evaluation. And what President Trump is ultimately doing is he's doing it at different levels to confuse us and also the government as to where exactly can he eke out the best benefit for the American government and ultimately look at various wins that he wants to say that he wants.
Let's bring this home a bit. What's the immediate concern for the groups that you deal with, the producers you deal with here in the Maritimes? How are they assessing this?
Well, they're assessing it as here we go again, because if we go back to 2018 and 2020, we actually had steel and aluminum tariffs brought in by President Trump in his first term, and we did weather the storm. We are very resilient. The manufacturers in the Maritimes and elsewhere are very resilient. They did look at other markets outbound. They did look at other suppliers inbound, which is very important. Diversification is what I'm attempting to say here. And that is part of what they're looking to do now. They're looking to diversify their markets. And in all fairness, some of the companies in the Maritimes have not done a lot of that. Others jumped at the opportunity to look at, say, shipping lanes out of Halifax and out of the Port of St. John, looking to Europe in particular, and having some government help. There are agencies within our provincial governments and the federal government, in fairness as well, that look to export and look to help you export. For example, if you don't know a thing about exporting to the Netherlands or Belgium or a whole bunch of other countries in Europe, the government agencies can help you connect the dots on their network and how to get introductions. So that's a very prudent thing to do in business, have a series of options. And I think it's fair to say manufacturers in the Maritimes are looking at even more now than they ever have.
I've only got a second here, Ron. This 35%, is this a negotiating number, or do you think this is what he's going to go with?
I think it's part of the way he has come to be the businessman that he did while he was in New York, in particularly in the real estate.
Real estate, yeah.
You know, he has got to a certain negotiating strategy or style, if you call it that way, by doing the way, you know, he's done it since, say, early March with us as a country, and also the other countries around the world.
Oh.
So the bottom line is he will continue to do that. I don't see, quite frankly, it being a bottom line number. I think it is, quite frankly, as I say, to answer your question, a strategy on his negotiating. Yeah.
Okay, feels a bit
not an ultimate number that we're going to have to live with.
Feels a bit like we're riding the scrambler. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see, and no doubt we'll be talking again. Ron, thank you for offering some clarity on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd, and have a great weekend.
You too. We'll take a break. Lots of news still on the other side.